Welcome to Lotos Lab. In this video I'm going to be processing wild oat straw, and I think this is Avena sterilis. I'm not 100% sure. A botanist could correct me, but the important thing is it's taller than me. Harvested on the 6th of June 2025 here in South Sardinia. San Priamo was where we harvested, and I'm now in Portocorallo. I'm honoured to be in the seaside house of Maestro Luigi Lai. The reason I'm harvesting oat straw is because it's the wrong time of year to harvest Arunda donax and the wrong time of year to harvest Phragmites australis, but absolutely the best time of year to harvest oat straw. And we know that oat was used for ancient double pipes because we've got bits of oat straw in the cases of ancient Egyptian pipes, you know, from like 1100, maybe 1400 BC. So oat is, well, straw. We don't know the species of the oats in the Egyptian museums, in the British Museum, in the Louvre, in Berlin Egyptian Museum, and in Museo Egizio Torino, and in Cairo. Okay, straw we know, whether it was barley or oat we don't. So this is the second year that I've been harvesting and processing oat. So I'm going to be a little bit more systematic. Okay, 2025, I'm going to try and do this more scientifically than I did in 2024. And I have got some boxes ready, and the boxes are numbered 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and perhaps we'll get some 2 and some 1, but I don't think we will from this material. And as you can see, originally they're amazingly long, so the boxes I thought would be fine for 5. For 6, actually, I've had to demote to 5, and because I couldn't fit the 7s. So these are the longest boxes I could get. And in fact, even these are too long, so I'm going to have to get some tubes to fit these in my suitcase, otherwise I have to cut them. But let's just go from the top, okay? Literally from the top of these oat straws. I am 1.86 m, so these straws, some of them are well over 2 meters. And that's what we want. We've harvested them also while they're still just a bit green. And you can see the green, let me just get them, lay them out on the table. You can see the green down at the bottom. Here, okay? Now that may be a bit too green, that may go all crinkly, yeah, perhaps, okay? So you want to catch it, depending on how hot, you know, what climate you're in. You want to harvest it before they fall over, before they get all crispy and dried out. So let's just start, you know, this is a small one. Let's begin with this, and you can see that we've got the long top node that ends here, okay? So that is, I'm going to call this the 7th internode, and then we have the 6th internode, and then we have the 5th internode, and on this one we have the 4th, and I've cut it here, and probably there were lots of little short ones before, because they were too sort of bendy. And that's what you tend to have down at the bottom. So I'm going to be consistent about the 7th internode being the one that has the panicles, okay, the seeds. Let's go. I have a precision cutter made by Wolfcraft. They're wonderful tools, these. And I am going to use these 7th internodes. It's nice cutting it. You want to cut it at this stage because it's still kind of supple. If you cut it once it's gone all crispy, then you crack it. So there we go. This is the leaf, okay? The leaf goes all the way around. As you remove the leaf, you want to be careful not to damage the straw itself. So the best thing is to pull it off. Sometimes it's a little bit sort of stuck, this one. So I'm unwinding it carefully because this could be beautiful, beautiful material in here. I don't want to squeeze too hard. Can I get that off? I'll go a little bit further. Maybe I open it out between my finger and thumb like this so that there's less friction. And, oh, this one's really tight. Okay, ooh, now you see that's precisely what I was trying to avoid. I've made a little crease there. Okay, now that's a problem. So I can note that you don't want to have little creases. I'm not worried. I've got loads of this material, and in fact, the 7th internode isn't really ideal for making reeds. I'm keeping these for circular breathing workshops because I think it could be extremely good for having a class and learning to circular breathe. God, this is really, normally it slips off, and this is not slipping off at all. I might actually get a knife and cut it all the way down to the bottom. So that the leaf sheath, this is called a leaf sheath, okay? Because it's a sheath, it protects the good straw inside. Okay, so there we have the 7th internode of Avena sterilis, and you can see that it's too long for my box, but I'm not going to cut it now. The reason I'm keeping these is because it's got a beautiful, tiny little, a hole there. So for circular breathing, it's got the perfect sort of slow, let's say there's very little airflow. So you could put this end, you can stand up tall, put the end into a little cup of water and practice your circular breathing. These are perfect circular breathing training straws. So that's why I'm wanting to keep them and take them home, as many as I can. Now, that was number 7, okay, putting them in box number 7. And the next internode, I'm going to put into box number 6. And I'm going to cut, because I'm going to lose it. These are green at the moment, so I can cut them nice and easily. So that goes in box number 6, and this is going to go in box number 5, and this is going to go in box number 4. And can't use that for anything, so that goes in the bin. And I could leave the leaf sheaths on, and this is kind of good packing material, okay? It helps protect them. I might do that. Traditionally, when they're curing Arundodonax for Launedus, if you leave the leaf sheaths on, then you sometimes get wonderful mottling. You can see here, okay, this kind of mottling. Now, whether you want that or not is an open question. If I were to take these leaf sheaths off now, I want to make sure I don't damage the nice straw underneath. I don't want to get any creases there. Sometimes, if you were to leave it, say, a week, you see, that's not coming off easily. When I was stripping these, in fact, you can see in the video I uploaded a year ago, filmed in Orte, you'll be able to see these just fall off. And that is for 2 reasons. 1, they were harvested a week or so later, and 2, I'd left them toasting in afternoon sun, which was definitely a mistake. As soon as you've harvested oat straw, get it out the sun. All right? Now that is, I would say, I think it's better to remove the leaf sheaths pretty soon, maybe not immediately. And I would also remove the nodes, okay? But I'm going to remember that this is the 6th internode and put it in my box 6. And I'm cutting it so that I can, the diameter changes. This is extremely useful. You can see I've still got pitch in my fingernails. They used pitch in ancient Egyptian pipes for repairing. And what works here is that with that narrowing of diameter, it'll jam nicely. So you don't want a perfect cylinder. You want that narrowing, not too much. And again, at the top, it sort of gets narrower. So, this could produce 1 yoke down there, okay, and certainly another yoke there. You could get 2 lovely yokes, or a pair of reeds, double pipe reeds, from that. And it's a 6th internode going into the 6th box. Now, this 5th internode will have greater wall thickness, okay, lower down the stem. It's kind of chunkier. It's I can remove the leaf sheath, that down. You can see how much thicker it is. This will create a much more resistant reed, okay? There's the leaf sheath gone. Beautiful. Okay, now this is going to be for a more professional, someone with stronger lips. Okay, so if if you're just starting out, you might want to take an internode 6 or an internode 7 to have a nice easy reed. Won't last so long, it'll sort of play, it's very light. If you want something stronger, okay, for which you need more developed embouchure, then you'll want 5, 4, 3, maybe even 2 and 1, okay? Although I don't yet believe that anybody's made a successful reed from internode 1 with oat. It's incredibly thick. So, I'll just polish this one. Again, remove the node and remove the leaf sheath. So it would be quicker to do this if I let it dry out a little bit. And that's not long enough to make a yoke or a couple of double pipe reeds. But it would be perfectly good for a single reed. You'd probably shorten it there to there, and that would fit in nicely in one of the 6-hole or 8-hole Egyptian pipes. So I'll keep that, a 4th internode. Next, let's take a longer one and see how many internodes this has. I'll take the longest in the pile here. And let's just see how many we've got. I'm starting with 7. Okay, so this great big long one. Wow, that's long. Okay, a single internode all the way to there. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So this one goes down to 3. You can see a little root there. So it's not, last year, every single one of the oat straws that I harvested had 7 internodes. These don't. So this one, it only has 5. But I'm going to number them consistently, so the 7th is always the one with the panicles, the seeds. Here we go. Let's process it. So I'll cut off the panicles, and it can now no longer be identified as oat. All right. Although maybe that's extraordinary. I don't think I've ever seen an internode. This is a single internode. Look at that. A single oat straw internode. Okay, so you could, so that's for a circular breeding workshop. You can get, blowing bubbles into a cup of water. That won't fit in my suitcase, so I'm going to have to trim that later. And then we have, and I'm going to cut these into the box so that I don't get mixed up. So, 6, 5, 4. There, my aim wasn't very good. Now, is it worth keeping that? Okay, I mean, yes, because you could potentially get a nice Berlin reed out of that, or for an Isteritz bone pipe. Okay, because that could be lovely. I could get a really nice reed, so I'll keep that as a 3rd internode. But let's clean it up. Okay, so I will now just. The reason I'm going to clean it now is because it's sufficiently green and supple. I don't have to soak it, so it's just more time efficient. And also, I'm deciding that I am going to have the blades up here, and I'm looking at the fibres. Now that curve there, I don't want that curve at the top of my reed. So really I want the widest part, and I'm going to cut the widest part where I will fold it there. And you can see that there's a little bit of rot got in there. So when making this reed, I would definitely squeeze it here so that little, that kind of weak seam there would be at the edge. And then it's the oat. So that could make a good reed. I'm going to trim it down here. Let's say right at the thinnest point. And you can see, well, look at that. So that's only got a kind of 2mm, maybe a 3, that could become a 3mm hole at the bottom. Whereas, look at the thickness of that. Okay, so that's got a good 2mm wall thickness. So that is going to make a strong reed. Okay, there we go. It's more efficient cutting it when green. Because you don't have to boil it in, you don't have to soak it in water, and if you cut it when it's all dried out, then you've got the risk of it cracking. Or you have to do it with a knife. So it's just quick and easy to process these when they're green and supple. So now let's trim down this number 4. Okie dokie. So that end goes. Now, I'll be honest, this one, it really just goes straight in the bin. And the reasons for that are, there's a lot of black, okay? Those you don't want, okay? That really, and also the curve. Do you see how it spirals? You're not going to get, because of the spiral going all the way top to bottom, you just don't want to be bothered with that. Waste of time. Here we are. So this is a 5th internode. Now again, you've got bits of black. Okay. Now it's fine. You know, I'm looking at this and thinking, is it possible to get a good read out of it? That section there is all lovely and clean. So that's promising. But if I turn it round, I can see there's a bit of a danger zone there. That is going to, you know, potentially there'll be a weakness that forms a crack. That is really bad. Okay. That sort of crinkle in there is disaster zone. So the only place you could make a read here is by putting one waist there, and having the tips in the middle there. So in fact, I'll just grab one of the reeds from over here so that we can see that. Here's the sort of thing. You've got two options. Okay, either it's going to make a reed couple for a Berlin Aulos or something, or it's going to make a reed couple for a Giglio Aulos or an Egyptian Aulos. For which you need longer reeds. Okay, so these are more Greco-Roman. You can see that crack there. All right, so this is a reed yet. That little crack there is precisely what you want to avoid. It's fine on that. You know, there's a lovely. So this is straw, oat straw, but this is Phragmites. Okay, so here's an equivalent one in straw. You can see that for straw reeds you leave the epidermis, the shiny outer coat on, whereas for Phragmites you need to remove the epidermis. So it's a different technique of making. Now, let's just have a look at this. Is it worth keeping this slightly dodgy internode? This is that is unsatisfactory because it's going to give us the sort of cracks. Cracks will develop like that. And this is really interesting. Can you see that there's a bit of a bend there? You know, that's damage. That is just undesirable. You don't want to be bothered with stuff that cracks. You want to, the success of your read is all about this process now, where you are discarding second-rate material and keeping what's promising. Okay? It's much more time efficient to throw out 90% of what you harvest with the knowledge that you've inherited. Now, obviously in antiquity, you've got, like here, you know, I'm in Luigi Lai's home, and he has, let's think, certainly 2,500 years of lineage. For Sardinian Launeddas, and look, here are some Sardinian reeds, all right? These ones were made by Jamie Green, okay, for Giglio Aulos as a little experiment. And in the making of these reeds and playing the Launeddas, we've got a little Sardinian bronze figurine from, you know, maybe 500 BC. And this instrument has clearly been played in Sardinia all this time. Amazing inherited knowledge. Now, with making straw reeds, we know they did this in antiquity, but we don't have the inherited knowledge. So it's experimental, and that's why this video is being published to YouTube, open to all, so that you can please contribute the learning so that we recover, so that we rebuild expertise that existed and maybe does still exist in pockets where people are still making reeds and have done for generations out of straw. For example, in Galicia. And Pablo Carpintero sent me a beautiful oat straw reed, which is one of my treasured possessions. So there is lineage, deep lineage, that we're foolish not to respect. Okay, we're too quick to throw away the knowledge of the previous generation and think we know best. So I certainly, you know, what's important is to be humble, to have an appetite for learning, to respect accumulated knowledge, obviously to question things, because people do get into ruts. So there we go. I am going to keep this because there is a reasonable good section here, that could be used as a practice reed, okay? But I wouldn't bother, if I was wanting to make a reed for my own usage, I wouldn't bother, I would chuck it. This is something that I'll keep for somebody in a workshop making their first reed, okay? Where it just doesn't matter, okay? You can make a mess of it, because you need to do it 10 times, 20 times, 100 times to begin to have that knowledge in your fingers. So I hope this video is helpful. Any comments, any suggestions, please leave them below. And thank you for watching Lotus Lab. Do support us. We're very, very a small operation, and we welcome any form of support, be it time, expertise, or a donation. You can contribute monthly or a one-off donation to support production of resources available to all. Thank you for watching.